Yes.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm Autumn. I'm the one who does the programming here in conjunction with our wonderful Janet sitting over there. So thank you for coming out. I just want to give everybody a heads up that I will be recording because we do like to post this stuff on our website for those that couldn't make it, and we keep it up for a few minutes. But it's just the backs of your heads, so don't worry about your face being on there if that's a concern.
Front of mine, right?
Yeah, that's the only face we're aiming at right now. So without further ado, Janet.
Okay, so I'm happy this is the last, actually it's the last, but I was really happy to be able to have Len Getz as our last speaker of this season. And he's an old friend of mine. He actually came to my wedding. So this is like ancient history. He is a career IRS agent, recently retired, and he also is an author from Broadway to
The Bowery, my first book.
right. And this was a documentary on the Bowery Boys. And he's written for many publications. He's also done interviews for the Steven Spielberg Holocaust Foundation. Yes, thank you. And this Innocent Spouse came out in the fall.
Came out in October of
Right.
2022.
Right. And so since October of 2022, I've been trying to get Len to be speaker here, and in his busy life, he's been able to make time for us. So we're really very excited.
And so am I. I really want to thank you so much for coming in today, because being here, sitting in front of an audience, talk about my first published novel, is actually a dream come true. And I could not have the dream come true without you guys coming here to see me tonight. So really, really very grateful. Very, feel very honored that you're here today. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about my first novel, Innocent Spouse. I'll talk to you about how it came about, what went into it, introduce you to the characters, some of the characters here, and also talk a little bit and read some of the passages. So ever since I was in high school, I've always wanted to be a published novelist. My favorite novelists were Vernon Malamud, Saul Bellow, Philip Roth, John Updike, John Irving, and lately it's been Jesse Kellerman and a local novelist, William Lashner. I don't know if you know him, but he's an attorney who writes novels where his protagonist is an attorney and solves mysteries as an attorney. So I thought, well, if I'm going to be a published novelist, I should also write about what I know. So what do I know about? Well, I know about being an IRS agent, a CPA. So perhaps I can write a murder mystery where the CPA IRS audit discovers clues and cracks the case in the course of doing an audit. And so I thought I wanted to make a big city feel to it. So I thought a lot about what kind of plot it would be. I came up, with some ideas, and dismissed some ideas. And finally, I decided that to reach an entire large audience, to make a big city novel, I would have the agent, my protagonist, Ivan Rand Samuels, audit a big city newspaper in the Philadelphia Times with for some reason the FBI looking over his shoulder, find out what he discovers, and before he even starts the audit, the Philadelphia Star reporter Sandra Wolf is found murdered. So I know that for some reason IRS people have a bad rep. I don't know why. Can't figure it out. I mean, all the people I know are very nice people. So I thought to counteract that, I gotta make Ivan personable, make him a good person, make him likable. So I thought I'd make him a single dad with a college-age daughter, and I thought maybe one thing that would increase the drama is have their daughter be a journalist major at Temple University, whose adjunct instructor be Sandra Wolf. I also thought that looking at my height in the drama is for his love interest, Ivan's love interest to be a tax attorney who he sometimes sees in tax court. So I came up with lots of different characters, how they would relate to each other. They also wrote biographies of each of the major characters and their family histories. So I knew the characters really, really well. But that was really important, so I could have their speech was distinctive, and their nuances, their mannerisms, and the way they talked have their own voice. So I'll tell you a little bit about Sandra Wolf. So Sandra, she was hired by the powerful executive editor of the most prestigious newspaper in the city, Philadelphia Times. His name is Alexander Anderson. He hired her because she was attractive, strong-willed, whose political views aligned until 9/11. And suddenly, Sandra's worldviews changed and came into conflict with her bosses. And the differences came to a head when she wrote an article about a controversial mosque in South Philadelphia. So I'd like to introduce you to Sandra and read some the opening passage. Taking in the breath of Broad Street from the window of the Doubletree Hotel's penthouse suite, journalist Sandra Wolf fixed her eyes on the bronze statue of William Penn up Castle-like City Hall, silhouetted against the twilight sky, hoping for a sign or an answer how to play her next move. Then she remembered that William Penn was a religious man and dismissed that idea, but he would certainly frown on her behavior. Between her slim fingers, she balanced Virginia Slims, her choice of smokes since high school, and everyone else puffed Marlboros. She edged her full red lipstick mouth into a smile. My article comes out tomorrow, Alex. She takes a deep, healthy drag on her cigarette. No one will ever lump Philadelphia Times with that irritating category, liberal media. She waited for Alex to take the bait, only felt his chest heave. She had witnessed him lash out against less biting comments. He had been at the helm of the Times over 30 years, writing editorials that defined the paper's opinions, his opinions, defended them fearlessly. Why was he silent? What was on his mind? Of course, he knew what was on his mind. It's on his mind every Tuesday night at this hotel. He didn't want an argument to spoil it. So Sandra persisted. Not only that, she said, blowing smoke rings into the direction of South Philly, we're going to be sending a shockwave to the city. The Philadelphia Chronicle won't know where it hit them. Sandra spied a white shopping bag with black ropes peering from behind the flat screen TV and wondered how she missed it. Her mind must have been shifting gears when she walked into the room, decompressing from a meeting with a defined union leader and gearing up for what could be the defining moment in her career. She pulled out items from the Victoria's Secret bag, headed to the bathroom, giving Alex a glimpse of the blue ash leaf tattoo he got for her, a place in South Street, same place where Alex got his, of a scorpion. Just curious, Sandra said when she got out of the bathroom. What title did you give it? What are you talking about? An article, silly. What title did you give it? Oh, I don't remember. Oh, come on. You not remember. Alex pursed his lips. Listen, I meant to tell you. I need to push it back a few days. You did what? You did what? We had some last minute change that we did. Don't worry. It'll be on Thursday. No, it won't. You killed it. You killed it. I don't know. Thursday, I promise you. You know, Alex, there's something about you. I don't know. Something always told me something. Something always told me something about you. What? What is it about me? Maybe it's about you. You used to be so level-headed. You wrote for a small-time newspaper in Blue Ash, Ohio. I gave you a job in the most prestigious newspapers in the country. Now you're practically accusing an icon of Philadelphia of being a terrorist? You expect me to run with it without being absolutely sure? Oh, so you don't trust me? Of course I do. It's not about trust. Well, what's it about? It's about confirmation. What are you doing? What's it look like? Sandra slipped back her skirt and her pink sweater. Oh, come on. What are you doing? It's just we're just checking a few things. Oh, what few things? Alex stared at her. He couldn't come up with anything. I knew it. Sandra opened the door, slammed it behind her, breaking the silence of a thick gold carpeted hallway. She pressed the elevator button, but didn't have the patience to wait, took off her shoes, and ran down the 23 flights of stairs. So that's a bit about Sandra. So while this drama is unfolding, Ivan is on his way to the federal courthouse on Market Street to help defend the government against the mob boss's wife's innocent spouse claim against the government, and her attorney is his significant other, Alice, who has never lost a case. But that morning, before he leaves for the courthouse, he has a little conversation with his daughter Liz. So I can tell you about the conversation. This morning began like it always, a few moments watching his daughter sleep, curled up in a tight ball, arms wrapped around her feather pillow, printed with pictures of willow trees and cumulus clouds. The alarm went off, eyes open, saw her father. I need a few more minutes, she said. What are your plans today? Journalism class, she mumbled into her pillow. Oh, how's that going? Liz turned her rolling into a sit-up. Great. Sandra offered to take me along as an intern to do some investigative reporting. Investigating what? Oh, I don't know. She rubbed his eyes. But it'll be an eye-opener. Hey, want to see something freaky? Suddenly refreshed, Liz reached for her iPhone on the pine wood night table. She hovered over the little gadget as if he was sending a message to the control tower in Nevada. Ivan was still a flip phone guy. I mean, she says, you may not think it's weird, but I think so. Something's going on. Liz held her iPhone to her father's face, but all Ivan could see were black dots that reminded him of vanilla beans and Bry's ice cream. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll make the font bigger. So he switched her fingers into the screen and made it bigger. Be wary of thy neighbor. The article is scary enough, but there's more to it. Stories by Sandra Wolf, you know, my journalism instructor at Temple University I just told you about. So she found out that her neighbor is a drug dealer, worse, maybe a terrorist. But that's not even the weird. The weird part is the article is published in the Philadelphia Chronicle. He works for the Philadelphia Times. So I thought I'd make the Philadelphia focused, mainly because I'm reaching out to a Philadelphia audience. So I'd love everybody here to read the novel, but also because even people who don't live in Philadelphia would, I think enjoy reading about the locale and the culture. So I peppered the book with lots of places in Philadelphia: Langman Hospital, Society Hill, Wells Fargo Center, Kelly Drive Bike Path, Independence Hall, Stourbridge's Department Store, Channel 6 Action News. So since we're so close to Langman Hospital, I thought I'd read the chapter that takes place at Langman Hospital. While the road off Route 30 Lancaster Avenue, leads to a sprawling landscape of rich grass, sod plants, and shrubberies, could be mistaken for an entrance of a well-endowed university or a resort, no one knew better than Ivan the focus of this institution is on healing the sick. He knew the place well: its looping hallways, coffee kiosk, the parking garage with its token operated toll booth. It was where his mother Sarah had spent her last few months battling heart disease. It was where his father would be battling his. Ivan parked his Toyota at the emergency parking lot. Through the open sunroof, he listened to the stillness of the dawn and saw the sun rise over the West Philadelphia. He was alone among a full lot of parked cars. Took comfort in that sight, The cause made him feel less alone and gave him the moral support to go on. Ivan had received a call from the pilot of a plane that landed in Philadelphia's Northeast Airport. A little while later, he received a call from the hospital saying his father was settling into monitors, IVs, EKGs, electrocardiogram, pulmonary angiograms, and cardiac catheterization. Ivan stood at the entrance of his father's emergency room space, separated by a curtain so thin, on the other side could be seen as people in silhouettes. His father was unshaven, his white hair disheveled, his mouth open to crack. Near the entrance sat his pot-bellied med suitcase, hastily stuffed by Martinez, along with a small black carry-on. Ivan did a quick scan of the other early morning emergencies and thought, only his dad traveled an arduous distance to reach these sacred halls of healing. Only he left fine dining and first-rate entertainment on a cruise ship to come here and possibly die. I was also very mindful of the diversity of the city, people in the city, people who live and work in Philadelphia. So I decided that the detective who's investigating Sandra's murder would be a Black female detective. So I want to introduce you to her. Detective Valerie Morse was accustomed to interrogating thugs for assault, armed robbery, rape, drug dealing, and now, as she was promoted, murder. No one took one interrogation to grasp the incongruity of it all. Moving up the ranks rewarded her by letting her get into the face of the most ruthless. On one hand, she was proud of escaping West Philadelphia neighborhood, crumbling concrete, full of old bricks, banged up cars. But did she truly get away? Her job called for looking into the eyes of conscienceless killers who weren't for the heavy metal shackles locked around their ankles and wrists, would leap across the wobbly interrogation table to rip her throat out. Not because they faced life in airtight prisons, but because the clever investigator, the clever investigative skills and wit of the detective who put them in there in the first place were those of a woman. But today was different, way different. First, this was not the cagey Philadelphia police officer District 3, battered with losers. This was the venerable and well-respected Philadelphia Times. Here, the people should be interviewing, not spend the greater part of their life trying to figure out how to destroy other people's life, scheming ways of how to not get caught. Rather, they were people who prepared for a great career in a legitimate profession and spent every day and sometimes all day doing their personal best to tell the truth. At least you hope so. And second, it was Sunday, the day after the discovery and broadcast of the inexplicable death of their colleague. I did quite a bit of research for this novel. I researched the history of Philadelphia, history of Islam in Philadelphia, Islamic art, FBI terrorist watch lists, money laundering, Philadelphia criminals, how to discern fingerprints of various surfaces. I interviewed a retired Philadelphia police officer and interviewed a retired crime scene investigator. So I have some idea what it would be like. What does a crime scene look like? What goes on? And also, what does the body look like after it's been neglected for a long period of time? I must have written about 200 pages of notes. While I was writing the notes, I was writing the novel, incorporating the notes into the novel. Sometimes it seemed like I was writing two different manuscripts. I put an outline together, chronology of the chapters, and making sure that with every chapter, I would move the stories forward, move the plot forward, and make it move. There was one scenario that popped into my mind. I do bike riding on Kelly Drive. So a scene that just popped into my head that took place in Kelly Drive. Didn't know exactly where it would fit into the novel, but eventually I found this place. So I thought I would read you a bit about that chapter. One of the wonders of Philadelphia was a 10-mile bike path on Kelly Drive that stretched along the bank of the Schuylkill River, past Boathouse Row, the Art Museum, and continued down Penn Landing to the dog park. One Sunday morning, Ivan parked his car a few hundred feet from the city entrance to Kelly Drive. He pulled his bike off the bike rack and pulled his gray ponytail tied back, put on his red and blue bike helmet, put on his wire rim glasses with lenses that view the world in twilight, started on the trail. He passed street vendors selling water ice, soft pretzels, and ice cream, zigzagged his way through the crowded corners, down a hill under a bridge where he picked up speed in order to give himself a seamless momentum to the upswing climb. At the end of the path was a sign promising more bike paths to come. He'd been seeing that sign for 3 years, and so far, no sign of any further construction. Ivan's attention was drawn to a wobbly cyclist who seemed to be staring at him as he rode his bike. It was one of those Blue Cross rental bikes that you see scattered along the park and scattered in the city. It had this weird look of like a stationary bike. I thought the guy who was renting this Blue Cross bike could not have been on his mind when that morning when he got dressed, because he was wearing black leather shoes, long dark pants, blue button-down shirt. The man veered awkwardly off the path, heading right towards Ivan, climbed the pedal brakes just before he was about to crash into the Robert Stewart bench where Ivan sat. Sorry about that. It's been a while since I rode a bike. Well, your clothes don't help either, said Ivan, as he moved his legs away from danger. Straddling the bike, the man reached up for his water bottle. Yeah, I seem to have a problem with appropriate apparel. You can see why I wear at Phillies games. You're Ivan Samuels, aren't you? Ivan looked at him, gave him a closer look, and realized who he was. I took 2 fiction writing classes at the mainline night school, where I had a lot of great feedback, and I incorporated that feedback into the novel. And I found that class very beneficial. And I'm very happy to say that my instructor is right here with us today, Maria Spreading. And if you would ever think of writing working on a fiction writing class, I would highly recommend her course. She was terrific. She was wonderful. You did all the hard work. So after I retired from the IRS, I took a part-time job with the Middle East Forum. It's a think tank. It's a think tank that monitors radical Islam, whose motto is radical Islam is the problem, but moderate Islam is a solution. It's a part-time job, and one of my coworkers was also an executive editor of a publishing company. And he asked to see my novel. So I showed it to him. He assigned it to an editor. I worked with this editor for about 10 months. We redid scenes. I originally wrote the book in present tense. She thought I should change it to past tense. A lot of other things I needed to do. But when she was finished, when she thought the book was ready, we passed it on to the publisher. But unfortunately, and for a variety of reasons, the publishing company ceased operating. So, very disappointing. I tried looking around for another publisher. But a few months later, I made contact with the former managing editor of the publishing company, who told me that she was forming her own publishing company and wanted to take another look at my novel. She read it, made more editing requests of me. She wanted me to tighten up the point of view, and she also wanted me to expand the role of Keisha. Keisha is Ivan's assistant in the IRS. She liked that. She liked that character. She wanted me to expand upon her, and so I did. And so I thought I'd introduce you to her now. Oh, Ivan! Hey, looking for me? Keisha sitting in her cubicle, took her head up from looking at her iPhone. Her champagne lips giving him a bright smile. Ivan did a double take. He remembered her voice from class. He remembered her hair in cornrows, spread wide around her head like a thatched tent, and tinted brown bangs that brushed against her eyebrows. Maybe her hair was the same, but I even couldn't see it. It was hidden under an imperial pink hijab and an item of apparel she hadn't worn in class. Hey, how you been? So I'm working with you, right? Yes, Keisha. I see you have the same eye find as my daughter. Oh, yeah, I just got that. What are you reading there? Oh, me? Oh, just this article in the Philadelphia Chronicle that my friend told me to read. I say. So what kind of cases have you been working on? Different ones. Self-employed people, dependent exemptions where I get to play King Solomon, ha 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 ha, and a hobby loss case. Oh, any innocent spouse cases? Oh yeah, one. The guy took out his IRA and didn't report it on his tax return, and his wife didn't know anything about it. Do you believe her? Oh yeah, well they built a deck on their house, so the money had to come from somewhere. So no. Isn't that what you do mostly? Do innocent spouse cases? Do you like them? It was a simple question, but I wasn't exactly sure how to answer it. Ever since he lost his wife Nancy, the type of work he did made very little difference to him. What did make a difference to him? What really mattered? He asked himself. He carefully poured coffee and milk and stirred. People felt Keisha noticing his prolonged stirring. It was this: Liz, Alice, comfortable shoes, decent air conditioning, current classic movies, and a good cup of coffee. Not work. But he wasn't going to reveal that. Keisha, young, fresh, eager, not going to spill his soul to someone who looked at Facebook more than look at somebody's face. So, it took me about 3 more months to do the revisions. And in June of 2022, I signed the contract. In October 2002, Innocent Spouse was published. A month later, it was positively reviewed on an online magazine called the New English Review. And a few months after that, it was reviewed by Robert Spencer, an online publication called PJ Media. Has lots of people have read it and give me 5 stars on Amazon. And it's my hope that you also read it too. Give me your feedback. And I want to thank you all again for making my dream come true by coming out to see me tonight. Thank you very much.
So were you thinking about this as you were working as an IRS agent?
So
Was this always in your head?
in the back of my mind, it always was. In the back of my mind, the idea of writing a novel was always in my head. And it gradually came to fruition later on as they finally retired. So bits and pieces of the idea came into my head, and I really didn't know exactly how to formulate it until I finally retired. Really thought very, very hard about exactly what I wanted to do. I checked out my notes. It looks like I think I worked on this novel for about at least 7 years. Not every day, but there was some months I didn't even work on it at all. But from the time I started working on it, from the time I finished it, we're talking about 7 years.
And so when a publisher, so when they suggest to you change the point of view or expand this or change the tense, like, I mean, this is your baby of 7 years.
Yeah.
What do you do?
How dare they, right?
Do you embrace that? Do you resist it at first?
No, I didn't resist it at all, because I was very grateful that I had a publisher that wanted to write it, wanted to publish it. I was very grateful that I had an editor that wanted to help me. And I knew that they knew what they were doing, probably better than I did. And so I accepted all their revisions and worked on it as far as I could until I got it right, until they were satisfied. Yes.
Did you know the ending when you first started, or, like all the pieces of it before you sat down, or did it come to you as you were writing it?
It's a really, really good question. I had some idea of what the ending was going to be, but I did not really know how it was going to end. I did not really have, different ideas came into my head, while I was writing it. I actually changed some of the endings as I was writing it. So no, it was not clear cut to me right from the beginning. It kind of evolved. Eventually, the answer came to me. Then said, of course, this is how it should be. So yes. Yes.
What was the point of view of the book? Did you write from the mind of somebody, or did you write
Right. So
third person in first?
right, so it was never going to be, it was a third person point of view, not first person, always third person point of view. But had a tendency to like change the third person from the character's point of view. I did too often. So for example, I may write something in what the one character is looking at, I might switch it the next paragraph with what the other character is looking at. And that was a mistake. That was one of the points that one of my editors pointed out to me. He said, it's okay to do different point of views, but it should be maybe a chapter at a time. Or if you're going to write it, or if it's going to be in the middle of a chapter that puts a line between the chapter to indicate you're now telling the story from a different person's point of view, from perspective. So, so that was really the question about point of view, and so that took actually some time to do that. But I knew it was important, and so I did it.
Can I ask you a question about the title? So innocent spouse is an actual IRS term or investigation term? Let me know.
Right, so is there such a thing as innocent spouse, really? So most people think there isn't any. The fact of the matter is, you're absolutely correct. Innocent spouse is actually a legal IRS term, actually has its place in IRS lexicon. And an innocent spouse is someone who did not know, who had no reason to know of the spouse's unreported income or inflated deductions. And if that spouse can prove that, that spouse can be relieved the tax of that part of the
I figured that out, but we wouldn't have. Okay.
I want to compliment you. I read From Broadway to the Bowery. I love that, but that's like a documentary kind of thing. It's very well researched and it was really excellent. And I've read your articles and things like that. And I read a lot of Stephen King. I read a lot of Kellerman. I read a lot of these detective murder mysteries. And I was really impressed with your character development, how you can see your characters, like that part you read when he's on the drive and he's riding his bike. You can see this guy coming toward him. Their development was so visual and it was such a pleasure to read. I thought, and I said to you a couple times, he's really.
Thank you so much.
Can't believe Len wrote this. It's really good. I'm just impressed with you really shine in this and you really develop it. The characters are a pleasure and you really get to know them and it's just nice. I hope you do another or something.
Well, thank you. Like, that warms my heart. You say that. It really does.
Well,
And other people asked me the same question about a sequel, which is a really great compliment, but it's a lot of pressure.
the same characters.
So I got to really think hard what that's going to be. So I'm thinking about it, but I haven't got there yet. Yeah.
What kind of articles did you write?
Oh, so when I was working for the Middle East Forum, I wrote a lot of articles about the Islam in Philadelphia, and also about how the media distorts events in the Middle East, and also how they distorts the idea of what Islam is. And a lot of articles most in my life, but I got articles published in the American Thinker, PJ Media, News Review, Jewish News Daily, Jewish News Syndicate, WorldNet, Daily Wire, and a lot of other publications.
So the murder, suspense, thriller, that's what speaks to you. So any future endeavors, they'll be same genre, same.
So, when I was younger, shortly after college, I wrote a novel I thought was a literary piece, very, literary, I thought it'd be a masterpiece. And, but didn't go and get anywhere. And these days, for a novel to really get anywhere, be published, and really, you have to be really a genius. I mean, you have to be very, very well known to write a really literary piece to get published. So these days, you think about what do people write? What interests people? What do people read? What genre do people what's the genre that attracts people? So crime attracts people, murder mysteries attracts people. So if I want any chance of my book to be read or published, it has to be in a genre that people read. So that's why I probably wouldn't be focusing on the next one. It would also be some kind of type of crime novel.
Did you ever read John Grisham's books?
I have read some of his books, yes. In fact, somebody actually compared me to him.
Were you influenced by him at all?
What's that?
Were you influenced by his writing?
I have to say no. I have to say no.
Yours is different.
Huh?
Yours is a different
Well, I would just
genre.
well, I would say it's a crime novel, but I would not say I was influenced by him.
Len, I got a business side to the process. You talked about the journey you went through to get it published. My first question is was there expense involved in that to do that? Whether you get a publisher to get people to review it. And then my second part of the question is, had you ever considered going through Amazon? It's got its whole online publishing division with access to all these types of resources. And what are your thoughts about that?
Okay. So in terms of finances, I did not pay a cent to pay any of the editors, the publisher. That was on the publisher's. There was their responsibility, financial responsibility. The book is not self-published. It's a real publisher, small publisher, but it's a real publisher. Doing the Amazon thing would have been at the bottom of my list of things to do, because that's basically self-published. And so if I totally didn't succeed in getting it published anywhere, I might have gone that route. But that was not the first thing I thought about. And
Are there pros and cons of doing it one way or the other way?
well, I guess the pros is that it's all yours. You get all the resources. You get all the you get all the income, but you have to incur all the expense and and take on all the responsibility. And the resources are there, but I don't know how are those books really how well they taken, how they're reviewed by other people. And I've read some people who publish their own books, and I'm wondering, whether would they be published by somebody else? And looking at them is the reason why. There's a reason why it's self-published. There's a reason why. And so that would be my last way. That would be my last go-to place for publication.
Thank you.
Yes.
You think it's getting harder for new people to get published or easier?
Well, in terms of conventional publishing, I think it's very, very hard. It's very, very difficult. Publishers have a tendency, a very, very narrow focus of what they're interested in. They have a mindset. They also have a very political mindset of what they're interested in. If it's not politically correct, they won't touch it. So in terms of that, it's very, very difficult to get published that way. You can conventional way. But yes.
Would you think of using an agent?
So fortunately, I didn't have to use an agent. I was very fortunate to work with somebody who had a publishing company. And I did try to, so after that publishing company, ceased operating, I did work on getting agents, but they too, some of them, I don't know if they read my, they come with a list of requirements, and I filled their requirements. Some want to see outline, 10 pages, 3 chapters. But they too have a certain point of view and a certain mindset and what they think is going to sell would work. And they have their own, idiosyncrasies. So, yeah, I would love to get an agent if I hadn't found another publisher, but I think I'm very fortunate to have found one. Fairly quickly, and who liked the book, and who did, and I guess looked at things the way I sort of looked at things. Whose worldview was the same as mine.
Will the publisher help you market?
Yeah, not a lot, to tell you the truth. I'm hoping that they do more of that. It's on Amazon. They talk about ways of marketing, but they haven't really come through with that. They do have an online magazine where I mentioned the magazine. And she said, the magazine gets sent out to a lot of people, not sure who, I'm not sure where it goes. They don't really work with me as far as the marketing. So, yeah, from that point of view, it's a little weak there. I was hoping, wish it would be a little stronger. But so that's why, so in terms of marketing, I'm doing a lot of my own. Like coming here, putting on Facebook, putting it on, sending out the emails to everybody who I know. And if you can do that too, that'd be great. You can send out to everybody you know. It'd be wonderful. Question over here?
I have one question.
Yes.
Are you Ivan?
Only to the extent that I work for the IRS, I'm a CPA, and that's it. And that's it. His character is fiction. Everybody is, and all the actors here, all the characters here, totally fictitious. Yes.
So if you write another, like a sequel to this with the same characters, will that publisher be willing to publish it, or they still have to review it and they're very strict? I mean, are you have an in with them already?
Yes, I would think so. In fact,
Okay.
yes, I would, I think she wants me to do another one.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think she wants me to do another one. So yeah, that would be, I think, and I think they would definitely work. Certain television press. Yes,
I'm just curious, when I read the book,
when you, right, I mean, when.
when I read the book, will I recognize some of the characters as people I might know in the community?
No, you won't. You won't.
If I can
That's
build on
something-
that, the way you will recognize all the places, I think it's amazing. Yes, with the
Yes.
research, the restaurants and diners,
Right.
I go to them now. If you're kind of like my travel guy. This is awesome, it's really cool.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so,
right.
it's cool.
So, yeah, you recognize, the whole point was to recognize the scenery. But no, I don't think you recognize any of the characters.
Those are, that's one of the reasons why I love reading Lisa Scottini and Wagner. It's fun when it's your city
That's right.
to see all of those things and.
Yes,
to
I
see what
recognize
they
the city.
think of that. Yeah, it's great.
Exactly. So he does that a lot. He talks about places, oh, I know that street. Oh, I know it on that. Exactly what he's talking about. Yes, so I try to do the same thing here.
Have you ever read anything by Primo Levi?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Curious.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah. Focus about it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I can answer anything.
So one thought, I haven't read the book, does Ivan's daughter sort of work with him on this case?
Well, you have to be.
I'll have to. So what I was gonna say is, if people read, John Sanford's book, his Lucas Davenport series, he now has a Letty Davenport series, his daughter, who becomes the investigator.
There you
And then
go.
there's another one, so
Okay.
I don't know whether that's an idea for a next novel or whether that's down.
So I would say this, that she does get involved. She's emotionally involved. She gets involved more than emotionally. She gets involved practically. And she does take it on. She wants to get to the bottom of this. So she does play an active role.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. As you can see, you don't have to be on the hold list because we do actually, last time I looked, the book was on hold. People, but you can get a copy.
Purchase one.
So you,
So, yeah, You
So,
can buy books from Len here, they're $15 each, he will sign them for you.
Oh, wow.
I have books here, happy to sign them for you, it's $15, autograph. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.